1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, and welcome back to It's Not a Sport. This week's talk, I want to talk about how games die, how they move on, and why players quit. So it should be a very interesting talk because I think it really goes down to emotion and people's decision. I think it's something very similar to politics. So we're going to be talking about that. We also got news for you guys, as always, following all the major esports leagues like Overwatch League, League of Legends, and Valorant. We also got some game releases coming out for you guys, so we're going to talk about that as well. And quick reminder, as always, before we get into this week's talk, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. You can find all of our past shows on our Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes. They're all up there. All the links are in the description below, so make sure to check that out as well. With further ado, let's get into this week's main topic. So I want to start out with kind of the MMO genre. We talked about this on last week's show. This is big news because we're kind of in a game-changing, genre-warping era at the moment. And that's why I keep bringing this up, because it's really big news right now where we don't have a lot of game release announcements. We got to look at more people's behavior, which I think is very interesting to study. So first off, if you don't know already, Asmongold, the biggest World of Warcraft streamer, has started to play Final Fantasy XIV. At the time of recording this, he just caught up to or finished a Realm Reborn content and is now going on to the pre-patch content and then into Heaven's Ward. He just did his first extreme trial, which has been incredible to watch and very fun to watch, pulling about 9k viewers on his stream, and it's been a phenomenal event, I would say, on the adventure MMOs in general. And with that being so big, we've seen that, as again I talked about this last week's show, go check out last week's show if you haven't already. It's a good show. Conral's kind of covers the MMO genre of this. The servers for Final Fantasy have been maxed out. So a lot of servers, like, that just means that a lot of people, or a lot of new people, are coming into the game now, where these servers are generally you can create a character on it. But at this time, and at the time of recording this was July 13th, around there. That was last week's episode, and this is the data from then. And all these servers are maxed out, and there's only one server available, which is Hyperion. If you're looking to play with me, by the way, just a side note, I am on Frankfurt, so it won't matter in the long run. But if you want to come play with me, I'm on Primal, and then Frankfurt, that is my server. If there are any new players out there, if you're looking to check it out. But overall, a lot of new players are joining the game, and you're not allowed to make characters on a lot of these servers, which is huge. So, and then going into, at the again, same time frame, recording this on Twitch right now, Final Fantasy XIV is ahead of World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft has always been in like the top 2 rows on Twitch, and now Final Fantasy has 6k viewers, where World of Warcraft only has 55k viewers. Now, I wouldn't say, like, I am a little biased, and that does make me happy, but just that alone is incredible. So why are players flocking over to this game, Final Fantasy, rather than World of Warcraft, right? Well, before we get into the MMO genre as a whole, I just also want to tackle another different type of genre. For me, a game more personal, as people are very close to World of Warcraft and have that very dear to their hearts. A game that was very dear to my heart is League of Legends. And LCS 2021 spring split viewership, this is spring split, was down for Twitch for the 5th straight week in a row. And now that we're in summer split at the time of recording this, it has also been extremely low viewership overall across all LCS or all regions. LCS yesterday only had 40k views, while Asmongold was streaming with 90k. It's a huge leap for Pro League of Legends. No one's watching it, and that's very concerning. World of Warcraft, again, going back, jumping, hopping forth. This is an old report, but their WoW count sub has reportedly been dropped 40% since Shadowlands launch, and that was in January. Now, this was probably due to lack of content, because they only just recently had a content update, but having your player base unsubscribe by 41% is huge, and then having league viewership drop is huge. So why are these problems? Why do people leave these games? Why do people quit these games? And how do these games actually die? Well, let's go into the emotional aspect of it first. Now, if you just recall, I just said that these games can be very close and dear to people's hearts, right? That is a huge part of gaming, is that humans strive for comfort. They love comfort. You know, you do the same thing. We're emotional creatures, and we have creatures of habit. So waking up in the morning, getting that daily cup of coffee for you is a habit. That is your comfort, so to speak. You know, playing this certain type of game, playing World of Warcraft, a game that you've played since high school, you know, is your comfort. For me, League of Legends was my comfort. I started playing League of Legends in season 2. I was still in middle school at the time. And I've only recently started to really question the game and really start to leave in it. Those are comforts. It's the same reason of humans being in bad relationships. You like what you know, and you're in that bad relationship because you're so used to it and you know how it's going to play out. You're comfortable with that bad relationship. Even though the relationship changes and it's overall probably not good for you, you're still in it because you're used to it overall. So what generally breaks the camel's back? What's the straw that breaks the camel's back and makes you want to leave these relationships, makes you want to get out? Well, for example, it's how the game changes over time. World of Warcraft is no longer meant for you when you were 17, just as League of Legends is no longer meant for me when I was in middle school. It's not the same game. It no longer is the same game. It has grown and it is catered towards a different types of audience. It has changed in a way that is maybe for the better and also for the worse overall. And the decisions that the game developers make, and they need to make the decisions to make the game still fresh and alive, but overall those decisions can come back to bite you. For example, with WoW, one of the big problems with World of Warcraft is the borrow power system. It is a system that in every expansion, for the past couple expansions, it is a grindy system that comes in and essentially it wants you to, it's a secondary leveling system to level up your character, right? And you do this system for the entirety of the expansion, and then when the next expansion comes out, all that hard work becomes obsolete. The game makes you grind out this old system, and then it becomes obsolete when the next new thing comes out, making you feel worthless, making your time feel worthless, and making you question, you know, the decisions of the game developers overall, and what's the point? League of Legends is having that right now. When a Cassian, this new mid lane ADC with a grapple hook or whatever came out and people saw his kit, on Reddit, the initial response was a sigh of, you know, disappointment. We weren't excited to see a champion that has 3-4 different things in his passive, that has a W that negates one of the core game mechanics of this game, that brings back, you know, players from the dead. That's not it may be exciting to some, yes, to fresh new players, but to veteran players, the casual player base, it's exhausting overall. It makes you question, what's the point? Why am I playing this game? These changes, and these are just some examples. You can look at any type of game that may be over time your favorite game. Again, each game has its highs and its lows, but overall, changes like these are the straws that breaks the camel's back. It's the same thing at the relationship. Eventually, your girlfriend or boyfriend will do something so outrageous that you just can't handle it, that you just know that, okay, it's time for me to move on. It's a point of no return. That's what we're seeing right now in these games. That's why we're seeing so much of an influx from WoW to Final Fantasy. Now, in the case of League of Legends is so dominant in the China and Korea that it doesn't really matter overall. I've talked about this, I want to write an article about it, but we've seen these developers kind of move on. For me, for League of Legends, the love is just not there anymore in League, but I've actually found, and I feel like see that love in Valorant more than I do in League, and it's very interesting to me. League, however, has a monopoly, I think, on the MOBA genre. You're either playing League or you're playing Dota 2. Those are your only two options. In the case of MMORPGs, you have a lot more options. You have, again, Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, you have Guild Wars 2, Black Desert Online, and all these new MMOs that are scheduled to come out very recently. The reason why I think people flock to Final Fantasy is because it is inherently closer to WoW mechanically and more familiar than World of Warcraft. Because again, you have a preference in games. If you like, and stop me if you get this reference, tall girls with big asses, right, for example, and the first one doesn't work out, you're gonna go for a second one, which is another tall girl with a big ass, because that is your preference overall. That's just how things work. That's your preference. If you like Street Fighter, for example, you may go play Guilty Gear because the art styles are similar and it's more animated and anime style than, let's say, Street Fighter or Smash. That's your preference. That's just how things go, and that's why games die. Overall, games die not because of the player base leaving or people getting new interests or something new. Games die because they kill themselves. World of Warcraft is killing itself with these systems, with these borrowed systems. And will it get good again? Sure. Yeah, definitely. Will Final Fantasy hit a stump and kill itself? Definitely. 100%. And will it get good again? Yes. Will League of Legends get good again? No, probably not. That's my opinion. Probably not. But is it killing itself with these champion decisions, with the item decisions, with the ruin systems, with the way the game wants to be played? Yes. League of Legends is killing itself. Fortnite didn't die because it changed or it got stale or it got old or anything like that. It didn't fall out of popularity because of that. It fell out of popularity because some of the changes the developers made. That's the reason why Ninja no longer plays it, or Tfue no longer plays it. Those are the reasons. It killed itself. CSGO, a lot of people moved to Valorant from CSGO not because of how Valorant was a better game or anything like that, because Valorant entered the market. It was something new. It was something better. It had a lot of improved upon features, and CSGO never improved upon those features. Valve killed CSGO. It killed itself. That's how games work. Generally, they die because they kill themselves. Now, there is another side of it. There's the financial side of it, where some games just don't make enough money to survive. That is a completely plausible reason. For example, I think a very good game for me, now that I'm thinking more about this and just on the topic of games kind of killing themselves, Blade and Soul was an MMORPG that I thought was a lot of fun, and I really liked it. But if you know how Korean monetization works, it is no surprise that this game died very early. It came out and had a huge hype train behind it in 2016. They paid a lot of streamers to play it, and now it is nowhere to be seen. It is dead. The subreddit is dead, and it killed itself very early on with GMs cheating, servers being laggy, hardware just being terrible, unbalanced classes, the grind being too big. It killed itself very early on, and now it doesn't exist. It's very easy for games to kill themselves, and that's why we see games die and people move on, behind also financial reasons. Nothing's going to stay top dog for long, but if you can keep players familiar, give them new refreshing content that they like, and keep the casual player base happy, then I think the game will survive steady. That's one of the reasons why I think GTA is survived so long. GTA 5 hasn't changed at all since its initial 2013 release, 2012 release. They haven't updated that game at all. The reason why the game still survived, and the big part of it, is roleplay, and that's because the community itself approved upon it. The people who loved the game and stuck with it developed the mod for the game to improve upon it. The developers didn't kill the game didn't kill itself. The player base grew it even more. That's just how things work. And this is, I think, is a very interesting and problematic root of the problem goes to game design. And it goes to that because gaming is a business. How are you going to make money? You know, we look at the FIFA games and they survive because, again, they're the same games over and over again, and they're not killing themselves because of that. It's probably a very good thing. But we look at games as a service, and as they change over and on, people complain and they slowly start to kill themselves. And it's a problem of monetization and making money. Because is GTA 5 making Rockstar money? Probably not. That would be my assumption. Is that it is not making them a whole lot of money overall, because they're not making money off of game sales. They're making money off of the microtransactions in the game. And this core problem it's a problem that I think plagues gaming overall. It is one of the major issues is just monetization. And it is an issue that needs to be solved very soon, unless we're going to fall into more circumstances like World of Warcraft is right now, where people move on to another game because it essentially killed itself. All right, with further ado, that's going to be this week's talk. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely go check out last week's talk for a little bit of context if you haven't already. So we are now going to go into this week's news. Let's get into the news starting right now. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this week's talk. I hope it was a good one. I hope it was informative for you as well. Quick reminder, as always, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you want to check out all of our past shows, especially our talk that we did last week with Carlos, you can find those all up on our YouTube channel. The entire season of season 4, as well as season 1, 2, and 3 are all up on the YouTube channel as well. With further ado, let's get into the news. So, first up, Sega and Atlas are set to announce a new RPG at the Tokyo Game Show. So Tokyo Game Show should be coming up relatively soon. It's that time of the year. I think here it says it'll be on October 1st, so relatively soon. And that's when we get some really cool game announcements from the Japanese media and the Japanese developers over there. So we should be looking forward to that. And Atlas is known for making really good RPGs. Persona's one of them. So we'll have to wait and see what they got in store next. Battlefield 2 2042 has been delayed till November 19th. So if you're looking forward to Battlefield 2042, as many of you are, it is being delayed a couple months. So it'll be out by this year as well, but won't be out until November. Former Bungie composer Martin O'Donnell found in contempt of court over use of Destiny assets. So if you don't know what happened, this happened a while ago actually, and it's interesting that there's still beef between them. There always seems to be an issue between musicians and games developers, I think. This was the dude who made all the Halo music, and he left Bungie over a dispute, and now they're still having dispute over him putting out work on Destiny 2014's Destiny before it was ready, or breaking his contract. So but it's very interesting because this isn't like the first time this has happened with the big company. It has had a beef with the dude who made the Doom soundtrack for Doom Eternal earlier this year, or last year I think actually as well. A GeForce Now database leaked a lot of information about games that are allegedly can come to PC from PlayStation. So we're going to go over that list right now because some of these would actually be really cool to see on PlayStation, and it also get rid of kind of the point of buying a PS5. First one being Days Gone will be available on Steam. That's what it says here on this list. Demon's Souls, I'm assuming that's the remastered version, of course. Drenkine, Everybody's Gone to Rapture, available on Steam. Ghost of Tsushima, which would be beautiful on PC. I would love to see how that game would run and look on PC. God of War, which would also be beautiful. I'm assuming that's God of War 6, not the original God of War that came out in 2016. That God of War. Gran Turismo 7, Guns Up, Helldivers 2, Helldivers, Horizon Forbidden West, Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition, available on Steam. Predator Hunting Grounds, Ratchet & Clank, Returnal, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and of course Uncharted: A Legacy of the Thieves Collection. And Uncharted Legacy of the Thieves Collection, as well as Horizon Zero Dawn, has already been confirmed. So this would be a pretty big move by PlayStation and them trying to break into the PC market, especially if I think God of War and Ghost of Tsushima and Demon's Souls came to PC. That would be huge. Epic versus Apple. Yes, remember that lawsuit? Well, there was a lawsuit of how Epic Games challenged Apple over the $30 tax on the Apple market, and there was a huge dispute. It went to court. Multiple parties were involved. Microsoft said they were behind Epic, and finally Epic won. With the ruling declares Apple is not a monopoly and must allow alternative payment methods, which means that you no longer have to pay Apple to buy your V-Bucks. Now you can pay directly to Epic, and Epic can just take the whole $5 instead of like the $2.50 that they were getting when you bought things through the Apple Store. That's pretty big for gaming overall. I think it's a win and something we should all be excited about a bit overall. Like, it doesn't affect us, the player, as much, but it affects the developers, and I don't like Apple. They have enough money, and if we can get more money into the developers' hands and they could do something good with it, then that's overall a win. So that's the news for this week. Again, short and sweet. We don't really have a whole lot of news, and we don't have a whole lot of esports either. So moving into the Overwatch League, they actually play tomorrow or today, depending on when you're listening to this episode. September 21st is when they play their first game. So nothing's really changed. It's just going to be all the 4 matches between San Francisco Shocks versus Dallas Shanghai Dragons, Philadelphia Fusion versus Los Angeles Gladiators, Washington Justice versus Dallas Fuel, Atlanta versus Chengdu Hunters, and we will see who wins because they are going into their finals. And that's going to take course over the next couple weeks of September for the Overwatch League. Valorant as well, I believe they just finished up their Masters in Berlin. So we're going to skip to upper bracket finals and finals of lower bracket as well. Starting with the lower bracket for all these, of course. So in the lower bracket, we had Supermassive Blaze versus Ascent. Ascent won. They moved up to the finals to versus Vision Strikers, and Vision Strikers won versus Ascent. Then we had In the next bracket, we had Kuru Esports or KUR Esports versus Vivo Cade. KUR won. They moved to first Team Envy in the finals, where TMV won 2-0. Then in the next bracket, we had Gambit versus Crazy Raccoon. Gambit won, and they moved forward to face 100 Thieves in their finals, where 100 Thieves went 2-1. 100 Thieves won. And then in Group D, we had G2 in first, being 3-1. Then we had Sentinels being 3-1, and F4Q being 0-4. In the qualifiers, how this went, of course, is we had Ascent versus 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves won. Sentinels versus Envy. Envy won. Then we had Gambit versus Vision Strikers. Gambit won. Then we had KRU versus G2. G2 won. And then we had Team Envy versus 100 Thieves in the semifinals. Team Envy won. Then we had G2 versus Gambit. Gambit won. And then in the finals, we had Gambit versus Team Envy, where Gambit won in the qualifiers. So I don't exactly know how this works. I don't think it's over, but we will have to wait and see. Now let's move into game releases. What do we have for this week? Starting on September 21st, the first big game that comes out actually on the iOS and Android would be Pokemon Unite, that comes out on September 22nd, followed by Diablo 2 Resurrection on September 23rd. That's the next day. A couple days later, we'll have some more re-releases with Death Stranding's Director's Cut on the PS5 on September 24th, as well as Dragon Ball Z Kakarot for the Switch on September 24th as well. Moving forward, we have some other small games like Lost Judgment, Away the Survival Series, Ghost Runner for Xbox, for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and X, until we get to New World, which will be Amazon's big MMO released on September 28th. Then we also have more small things, for example, like Darksiders 3, that will come out on the 30th at the end of the month, and then we will move over into October. Anyway, that's going to conclude this week's show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please, again, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. If you have any comments, any things you want to say, any show topics you want to hear, list those in the comments. I will definitely take a look and try and do my research for those show topics as well. Make sure to check out all of our social media and our website. We're having all of our articles are up on there, and there's some very interesting ones, especially about Berserk, if you haven't read those already. We also have all of our shows. They come up on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, and of course YouTube, where all of our previous shows are archived. You actually can see the video in my face. Anyway, that's going to conclude this week's show. This is your host, Salty Waffles, signing off, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful